Hello and welcome to Better Body Movement. This class is designed to help you start feeling well.
I have less pain, literally eliminate that pain.
I just feel better.
I can tell that my posture is changing.
Bright light in the day when we've done our workouts online.
Makes me feel so good about myself.
The calf is predominantly made up of two different muscles, the soleus, which lies deep to the gastrocnemius. As you can see here, both muscles connect to the Achilles tendon that pulls on the back of the heel. The gastrocnemius also has two different heads that pass the knee joint to the back of the femur. The gastrocnemius and soleus both work to create plantar flexion, whereas the gastrocnemius also assists with knee flexion. Start sitting on the floor using a foam roller. Begin by placing your calves on the foam roller. Using the weight of your legs, flex and point the foot to create a better release. As you work up the calf, roll the knee outward and inward to get more of the lateral and medial gastrocnemius heads. Continue to work through that tissue for 7 to 10 repetitions on each part of the calf that is tender. Next, use the massage stick. To make sure the calf is loose, use a step stool to lift the foot and allow the muscle to relax. Start near the bottom of the soleus and pull towards the top of the gastrocnemius. When you find a tender spot or a knot, stop the massage stick where it is and create pressure into that spot, creating a jostling motion without rolling the massage stick up and down. Make sure you breathe and relax the muscle tissue. Continue this same process all throughout the soleus and gastrocnemius, even the side of the lower leg, until you feel you've gotten all of the tender spots. Be sure to use firm pressure as you roll the tissue. The muscles running most deep to the soleus are the Tibialis Posterior and the Flexor Digitorum Longus. The Tibialis Posterior is responsible for inversion of the foot. The Flexor Digitorum Longus runs all the way to the tip of the toes, creating flexion of the four toes and assists with plantar flexion of the ankle. From those illustrations, you can see how the muscles in the lower leg control the toes. To work the Tibialis Posterior and the Flexor Digitorum Longus, we are going to need a lacrosse ball and a chair. With your leg on a hard chair and the foot over the edge, place a lacrosse ball in between the gastrocnemius muscles and press down into the tissue. Work the medial and lateral portions the same way you work the tissue of the tibialis posterior. Press into the ball and pull your foot up while you breathe in. After a full contraction up, drop the foot and relax your breath. Work your way to the medial portions, continuing to breathe during the contract and relax sequence for 7 to 10 repetitions. Then move out to the lateral portions for 7 to 10 repetitions. The calf is predominantly made up of two different muscles, the soleus, which lies deep to the gastrocnemius. As you can see here, both muscles connect to the Achilles tendon that pulls on the back of the heel. The gastrocnemius also has two different heads that pass the knee joint to the back of the femur. The gastrocnemius and soleus both work to create plantar flexion, whereas the gastrocnemius also assists with knee flexion. Start sitting on the floor using a foam roller. Begin by placing your calves on the foam roller. Using the weight of your legs, flex and point the foot to create a better release. As you work up the calf, roll the knee outward and inward to get more of the lateral and medial gastrocnemius heads. Continue to work through that tissue for 7 to 10 repetitions on each part of the calf that is tender. Next, use the massage stick. To make sure the calf is loose, use a step stool to lift the foot and allow the muscle to relax. Start near the bottom of the soleus and pull towards the top of the gastrocnemius. When you find a tender spot or a knot, stop the massage stick where it is and create pressure into that spot, creating a jostling motion without rolling the massage stick up and down. Make sure you breathe and relax the muscle tissue. Continue this same process all throughout the soleus and gastrocnemius, even the side of the lower leg, until you feel you've gotten all of the tender spots. Be sure to use firm pressure as you roll the tissue. The muscles running most deep to the soleus are the Tibialis Posterior and the Flexor Digitorum Longus. The Tibialis Posterior is responsible for inversion of the foot. The Flexor Digitorum Longus runs all the way to the tip of the toes, creating flexion of the four toes and assists with plantar flexion of the ankle. From those illustrations, you can see how the muscles in the lower leg control the toes. To work the Tibialis Posterior and the Flexor Digitorum Longus, we are going to need a lacrosse ball and a chair. With your leg on a hard chair and the foot over the edge, place a lacrosse ball in between the gastrocnemius muscles and press down into the tissue. Work the medial and lateral portions the same way you work the tissue of the Tibialis Posterior. Press into the ball and pull your foot up while you breathe in. After a full contraction up, drop the foot and relax your breath. Work your way to the medial portions, continuing to breathe during the contract and relax sequence for 7 to 10 repetitions. Then move out to the lateral portions for 7 to 10 repetitions.
All right, good morning, everyone. I am really glad that you're here. Remember, for those of you joining in, please comment where you're at, where you're joining us from, so that way we can get an idea of everyone that's joining in. Like the video and subscribe. That would be absolutely fantastic. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, this channel is here and meant for you to work on how your body works and going through all of that standardized, we'll call it a standardized process here in building your body to be able to do all the things that you should be able to do, not just passively going through life, not doing.
It's not that I'm going to keep it tight.
There we go.
That should be better. Glad you're here, able to join us and get going. So we start our day with some I dedicates over here. Those are all just people that we're dedicating through our workouts, praying for those individuals, especially for health and wellness stuff, and then we'll do our verses of the day. So our I dedicates, starting with Laurier's mom, is doing dialysis 3 times a week, so praying for them. Having to go through that continually all the time is just kind of a stressful thing, and having to get done with it. So Ethan with his stage 4 liver and bile duct cancer, praying for him and his family. through that. My friend's wife, who was diagnosed with breast cancer, and they're doing a natural treatment process, trying to handle that. So praying healing over them. Sky Toyne with her bone marrow transplant. It seems like everything thus far has been going well. The hardest part has been due to the large amount of antibiotics and anti-rejection medicines, that it is very difficult for her because of headaches and migraines, just kind of debilitating. So be praying for her as well. I think today marks day 6. The transfusion was Friday, so day 7. They said 7 to 10 days is kind of the worst, so let's be praying that that's just now. It's done. It's over, and we don't have to. She won't have to experience that anymore. Erin with her foot and ankle. Lois just updated me that she sent a picture. Things are healing up well. It's actually going through that process as well. So hopefully she can stop the antibiotics at some point. But they do have to put in a new PICC line. The other one clogged, which is fairly common in that. Carol with her knee surgery. Hopefully Carol's on. Leave a comment when you guys come in, so that way I can see you in the facility. Just praying for her, continuing to increase that range of motion, get the body moving, and going forward here with that. Kira with her breast cancer, and then Barb and Tom with their health issues, praying for them. Oh, she said, can't see where you comment. There should be a little text box. So if you have your phone sideways, you won't be able to see it, or your iPad. If you go upright, the video should make a little thing, and then there's like a little live comment or live chat section. Should be. Anyway, we'll try to work on that with you, Carol, but glad you're here. It's so cool to have you back. Our verse of the day: on God rests my salvation and my glory. My mighty rock, my refuge is God. Psalm 62:7. Every time I see this word refuge, I go always to refugee, right? What does refuge really mean? Like, that's the place for the refugee. It's the place where, when you are homeless, when you have nothing, when it's been all taken from you, God is the one who is still there. He's the one who provides strength. He's the one who saves us in those moments, and is our refuge. He holds us near and dear because we are family to him. So it's pretty easy to see right now, especially with what's going on in Ukraine and all the terrible things that are happening. Refugees are fleeing the country, trying to get away. They need a home. They need a place to be. They need somewhere where they can live. So they need refuge. They're seeking that out with everything they have. And I think sometimes it's easy to forget the fact that that's really what God wants for us. Is he wants for us to be, I'm talking on a spiritual sense. He doesn't want the war. He doesn't want those bad things happening. But he wants us to be seeking him as though he is the only thing left. Like, we don't find strength and comfort in the things of this world. We don't find strength and comfort in my car or my job or my money or anything else. But he is that refuge. He's the one who we should be seeking after as if we're homeless. We're not there yet, but we will be. So it's just such a good verse today to kind of chew on and think about as we go. So let's go ahead and jump into the workout. So go ahead and find a spot on the floor.
Pelvic tilt.
We'll get started. Remember, with pelvic tilts, we're just going to start with that Kegel, right? So imagine you're holding in a fart and then compress your core, crushing a Dorito under your low back.
1. Pelvic tilt.
Gail, I just saw cat is disabled. Let's see if I can get started.
That's halfway. 3, 2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with knee fall out. 3, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt with knee fall out. That's halfway. Three, 2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with adduction. 3, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt with adduction. That's halfway. Three, 2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with knee toward chest. 3, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt with knee toward chest. That's halfway.
Well, that I know you can hear.
3, 2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt.
Unless that just died, maybe. Okay. Good core compression and then bridge, okay?
1. Pelvic tilt with bridge.
So with this one, remember, we're trying to get your core really tight and then you're lifting straight off the ground, right? We're not forcing the hips all the way through to the ceiling. If you arch your low back, you're pushing too far. Okay, so make sure you get that core nice and tight, compress, then squeeze through the butt cheeks, lifting off the floor. This is the only exercise that we really should be squeezing the glutes at all, okay? But we should be doing that really well.
That's halfway.
Thank you, Gail. Good compression. Core tight, tight, tight. Remember, doing your absolute best through the exercises, making sure that you continue to contract that core really firm. Compress those butt cheeks together. Again, your feet should be about shoulder width apart. Okay, but because we call this core day, the whole focus is that you stabilize your spine.
1. Prepare for shoulder drops.
Okay, because if you imagine for a second, you know, those old skeleton pictures you would see, right? You've got your ribs that all sit here. You've got this one little column of your low back, and then you've got your hips down
3,
here.
2, 1. Shoulder drop.
Right? So if that's the case, if my ribs are up here and my hips are down here, and I have just this spinal column in my lumbar spine, the only thing that holds that is all the muscle tissue that surrounds it. Right? That's what keeps your spine in a certain alignment or position. So if we get into bad positions, it's going to take the lumbar vertebrae and it's going to make them go to different positions where you're actually compressing the discs, creating so many more problems, right? So we want to compress and hold our core tight through any movement we do through the day, whether that's reaching up, pushing something, pulling something, stepping, pressing our foot down. The core should stay tight, right? So that's what we're practicing. Get the core tight, tight, tight. Very good. Okay, again, do your absolute best all the way through.
3,
Again, squeeze.
1.
Awesome.
Prepare for dead bug.
All right, dead bugs. So we're going to extend opposites here. So as we get set up, shins parallel with the floor, arms up to the ceiling just like the last one, and then compress that core.
3, 2, 1. Dead bug.
Okay, so compress that core, get those legs set in position. Remember, you only extend the leg as far as your core can stay tight. If you extend your leg almost all the way to the floor and your back arches and comes up off the floor, you're extending your leg too far down to the floor. You might shoot your leg more up like the corner of the building rather than get the leg out parallel to the ground, right? You only go as far as the core stays tight. Hold, hold, hold. Compress that core as tight as you possibly can. Firm, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. You're doing your absolute best.
Three, 2, 1. Long rest.
Good. Okay, long rest. Go ahead and grab a drink, hang out on the floor for a little bit if you want to, and then we'll get started here in a little bit on round 2. For this round, what we're going to do is every time you do a core compression, you're going to gently lift your feet as if you're lifting 50% of the weight off your feet. So they shouldn't leave the ground, but you should create a hip flexion that forces your core to work even harder.
Three, 2, 1. Prepare for
Yep.
pelvic tilt.
You pull it up right on the TV. My kids did that the other day and did a workout with Noah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So it works out really well. If you have a smart TV that has YouTube on it, you can actually just pull these up directly on your smart TV. So it's even
Pelvic tilt.
more efficient actually than the old website that we had. Very good. Okay, again, core compression, squeeze really tight, gently lifting on the feet. Just activate your hip flexors a tiny bit. Make sure your pelvis does not lift up off the ground. This is where so many low back problems come from. It's because we get into bad positions and pinch our vertebrae into a position they're not supposed to be in. So we want to build strength, which is compression. This is not navel to spine. I'm not sucking my belly in. I'm creating compression. So again, the hips, if they roll up just like that, that's a problem with the core. So squeeze tighter, gently pull on those knees. There should be no change in your core. If it changes, you know there's a weakness there that needs to be trained in order to provide you with the stability that actually will create change in the way your body feels. Okay, here we go.
3, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt with knee fall out.
Carol, that's just fine if the knee hurts after the first round.
That's
You want to make sure
halfway.
that you ease into it as far as the activity levels and what you're capable of doing. And I understand too, obviously, we get that knee bent into a dead bug position. That's going to be really tough as well. But very good to get it moving at least for this first little bit post-knee surgery. I love it. All right, good core compression. Again, squeeze tight as your knee goes to the side. You should not be, tilting the bowl. We call it the pelvic bowl. Don't spill the milk, right?
Prepare for pelvic tilt with adduction.
Very good. And Gail, I got the comment figured out why we can't do it. For some reason, it's set to 4 children. When it's set to 4 children, then you can't change that.
Pelvic tilt with adduction.
I wish I could show up. Okay, good, good, good. Nice tight core compression, squeeze firm all the way through. Again, remember, do your absolute best all the way through the movement. Again, it should be core compression with that Kegel. Squeeze those knees, gently pull the feet towards the chest. If your core moves, re-squeeze your core, let go of the knees, let go of the core. So it's a core sandwich, should be tight the whole way through, squeezing, and then also through when you're relaxing it.
3, 2, 1. Prepare
Good.
for pelvic tilt with knee toward chest.
Okay, pelvic tilt with knee toward chest. So as you begin to march, pull that core really tight. Make sure your opposite foot also is
3,
light on the floor.
2,
You should not be trying
1.
to stabilize.
Pelvic tilt with knee toward chest.
You should not be trying to stabilize that pelvis by pushing your opposite foot into the floor. Right? You want to hold that core so compressed that as your knees move, there is no change, right? We don't want it to create any sort of movement within the hips or the pelvis at all. Core, tight, tight, tight. Another way to think about that is if someone's going to step on your stomach, right? Hold it, compress it, tight, tight, tight. I did core day yesterday. I feel it today.
That's halfway.
Good, good, good. Your absolute best all the way through. Press that core, recompress it. Okay, it's really easy in the seconds to fail to remember, oh yeah, what am I doing? Compressing the core. So re-squeeze that core, get it really, really tight.
3, 2, 1.
Good.
Prepare for pelvic tilt with bridge.
Okay, tilt with bridge. Again, when you create your pelvic tilt on this one, create that core compression. Squeeze your Kegel nice and tight. Squeeze the butt cheeks, lifting the hips, but only go as high as your core stays tight.
1. Pelvic tilt with bridge.
Okay, we do not want to see a shift in the low back, especially an arch come in as you lift. If you arch your back, that's going to create that bad compression through the spine. We want to keep good compression, right? Again, a lot of times what I use is I'll use my thumbs way out on the sides of my just below my ribs, and then I'll put my index finger closer to the center, kind of right beside my belly button. And then I want to squeeze that and make sure both are tight, right? Not just one or the other, but just the whole thing is compressed the whole way around. That's where we get good spinal bracing. It's going to help so much with all of the transitions of movement that you make is a strong core. Okay, 10 seconds, we're almost there. Again, do your best, squeezing your butt cheeks together. Remember, we're trying to make flat pennies.
3,
Right? So penny between the butt cheeks.
1.
Squeeze
Prepare
that
for
penny
shoulder
and
drop.
squish it nice and flat. Okay, very good. Remember, stay really firm through your midsection.
1. Shoulder drop.
Okay, again, shoulders down and back, out of your ears as much as you can. Firm core compression. Again, if you're doing this right, your lats back here on the ribs should be pulling everything down into position. Shoulders out of the ears, and we're squeezing just behind the armpit, right? Return to this position. And that's what we want, because this is our push and pull position with the shoulders.
That's
It's really
halfway.
tough on the shoulders if we're rolled forward and try to create a push and pull. That's what gets us all throughout the day. Very good. Do the absolute best all the way through. Compress that core, recompress that core. Get it nice and tight all the way through.
3,
Good.
1. Prepare for dead bug.
Awesome. Okay, get ready for the dead bugs. Okay. Or you can be doing the bird dogs, right? Either way, we're going to get good
3,
core stability.
2, 1. Dead bug.
Again, we don't want to cat or cow the spine here, just nice and flat. Again, I don't want you to overextend your heel up to the ceiling by any means if you're doing a bird dog. I want you to just hold spinal compression. That's the most important part of any movement we do today, is that this doesn't move. Okay? If this moves and it's weak and it's going through all different positions, reset. Stop what you're doing, reset, compress that core harder.
That's halfway.
Squeeze. Again, if you're doing dead bugs, only go as far to the floor as your core can tolerate. If your core lets go and your back arches and you feel this in your low back, you're going way too far. Settle down. It's okay to just do small movements so long as you're challenging the core. That's what matters. Okay, challenge. 10 seconds. Try to finish all the way through. Core, re-squeeze. Compress tight.
3, 2,
Awesome.
1. Long rest.
Very good. Okay, that's it for round 2. One more round coming up. This final round, we're going to challenge a lot and try to get the feet to hover through every single one of them. Okay, except for the bridge. Obviously, we push the feet down. But I want you to think core compressed as hard as you possibly can. Hover the feet 1 inch off the floor. Set the feet down. Then you can release your core. Okay, and that's different kind of each movement, but the main thing is core tight, try to lift the feet.
Three, 2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt. Three, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt.
Good. Pelvic tilt. Compress that core nice and tight. Hover those feet. Just 1 inch, right? 1 inch. Doesn't have to be a lot, but we do want them to hover. Set the feet back down, then release the core. Okay, so both through the activation of the hip flexors and the relaxation of the hip flexors, we want the core to stay tight. Recompress. Again, if you got to do a belly whack or two where you smash the belly.
That's halfway.
Got my own little drum set. Playing my bongos. Good. Core tight. Squeeze. Firm.
Yeah, it was bad.
Awesome work, ladies.
Three,
Compress.
1. Prepare
Awesome.
for pelvic tilt with knee fall out.
Okay, so same thing here. Core compressed. Try to lift the feet. Then knee out to the side and back up. Because you lose that stabilizing point on the floor, it's much more difficult.
2, 1. Pelvic tilt with knee fall out.
Okay, so core compressed. Start that hip flexion. See if you can get all the way to where your feet are off the ground. Then go through that external rotation, right? Dropping the knee out to the side and bringing it back up. Again, restrict the range of motion, because as soon as that hip catches and it pulls the pelvis with it, you need to stop, right? So only go through what action is within the hip joint itself. You don't want anything beyond that, because if it's coming from the hips and we're shifting side to
That's
side,
halfway.
that is not what we want for this kind of core training. Okay, recompress, hold firm, tight squeeze, all the way through. Good. Awesome. Almost there. 5 seconds.
3, 2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with adduction.
Okay, very good. Pelvic tilt with adduction. So grab that foam roller, put it between the knees. Remember, Kegel core compression. Squeeze your knees, lift your feet, set your feet, release the knees,
3,
release the core.
2, 1. Pelvic tilt with adduction.
See, so it's small thought processes, right? No, it's great big thought processes where we have to try to consider how we're contracting all the way through, and then how are you relaxing? Can you incrementally relax? Set the feet back down, release the knees, then release the core. The core should be able to stay on all the way through. Okay, good compression, good compression. Again, another thought process too is put a belt under your back, right, your waist. Pin that belt to the floor and then try to pull it out from behind your waist, right? Very different. Hold, 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 compress that core. Pin that belt down the whole time. That maybe has been one of the best training tools I've done with people in person, is legitimately put a belt there or a band and say, pin that down, don't let me pull it out, right? And the whole time I'm gonna just keep tugging, tugging, tugging.
3, 2,
Good.
1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with knee toward chest.
All right, with a little march. So compress that core, nice and tight. Hover the feet, and again, we're not
3,
scissors kicking.
2, 1. Pelvic tilt with knee toward chest.
Okay, so we hover both feet. 1 foot up, bring it back down to a hover, other side. Back down to a hover. Other side up, all the way back down to a hover. Then move the other leg. Try to really force that core to stay tight, right? To a hover, right? So from the hover, 1 foot up, back down. 1 foot up, back down. And again, if you need to relax and let your core go, that's fine. Let it go, but then jump right back into it, right? Core compress, hover your feet, bring one up, set them down. Let the core relax. Core tight, re-squeeze to a hover, bring the other foot up, back down. That's the goal, right? You don't have to be able to do that right now, but that is what we're trying to get. As much core compression as we possibly can. Firm, firm, firm. Squeeze, tight, tight, tight.
3,
Almost there.
2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with bridge.
Okay, into the bridge. So feet shoulder width apart. I want good extension out. Sometimes people report when they're doing this, they feel the hamstrings almost like they're going to cramp.
2, 1. Pelvic tilt with bridge.
And if that's the case, if that's you, I want you to think, push your feet away from you, almost like you're extending your knee while you do it, rather than thinking pushing into the floor and pulling your heels towards your butt, right? That can shut off the hamstrings, and it's going to give you more opportunity to get this exercise that we're looking for. I want core, okay? So that if that's my main focus, core, then the glutes. Hamstrings are the last thing that I'm going to worry about. So press your feet like you're trying to push them away from you as you do your bridge. Okay, good, good core compression. Good. Squeeze tight. Pinch the butt cheeks up. Set back down and then let go.
1. Prepare for shoulder drops.
Awesome. Okay, shoulder drops. So again, set first, right? Shoulders all the way to the floor, but also
3,
down to your butt.
2, 1. Shoulder drop.
Or you can even think like with your shoulders, drive your elbows all the way down into your hips, right? Then set up with your arms straight overhead. Again, don't let your shoulder just hang out like this, right? You want to pull the shoulder back down into its appropriate alignment and position. You're going to hear a lot about that tomorrow when we go into our total body day. Stabilize your shoulder blades. Stabilize your shoulder blades, right? For you women, it's a little bit easier maybe to pinch your bra strap with your shoulder blades, right? So it should be down here a bit. It's not pinching to the center of your back between your shoulder blades. It's actually lower than that. So take those shoulders all the way down and then pinch back. Down and back, down and back.
Yeah, do that. All right, John. You too.
Very good. All the way through. Compress, compress. Redo that core. right? We don't want to lose the core through this movement.
2, 1.
Awesome.
Prepare for dead bug.
Very good. Okay, let's get set for the dead bug. Last one of the day. Do your absolute best. So dead bug or bird dog. Halfway through, I'll flip over and demonstrate the bird dog again.
3, 2, 1. Dead bug.
Okay, but when you set up, again, shoulders down and back, set those knees at 90 degrees, right? Hips and knees, 90 degrees, or think there's a box between your arms and your quadriceps, right? You're just going to bring your legs or your thighs and your arms into that box. Squeeze firm. Again, only extend so far as your core stays tight. If it loosens up and you feel this in your low back, that's too much work through that spine. Press the core harder and force it into position. So here's the bird dog. Again, do not cat or cow. We want to be holding that compression so tight the spine does not change. This is a great exercise to add that extension capacity through core stability, forcing you to balance, right, without falling over onto your face because one arm moves, right? Core squeezed nice and tight.
3, 2, 1. Long rest.
Awesome. Very, very good work, ladies. That was absolutely wonderful. Make sure, again, if you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, we do have a pretty cool goal. We're going to try to hit 1,000 subscribers. So anyone that you know who might benefit from this, there is a little share button just below this video. You can share that with anyone you think would enjoy what we do, right? So anyone who might be struggling with some sort of pain, management problem, and that really could be anybody, because we also have the playlist of the SMR work, which we are about to get into. So we're going to do some more SMR work on the calves. Remember, if it's not what you need right now, go back into our playlist, figure out what you do need, work through that pain and malfunction first, getting yourself out of acute pain stages, right? This takes work, it takes time, but do your best. If you stick with this, it will make a big, big difference for you. Okay? Have a wonderful day. I will see you guys tomorrow for our total body day. As always, I am here to help you move well so you live well.
The calf is predominantly made up of two different muscles, the soleus, which lies deep to the gastrocnemius. As you can see here, both muscles connect to the Achilles tendon that pulls on the back of the heel. The gastrocnemius also has two different heads that pass the knee joint to the back of the femur. The gastrocnemius and soleus both work to create plantar flexion, whereas the gastrocnemius also assists with knee flexion. Start sitting on the floor using a foam roller. Begin by placing your calves on the foam roller. Using the weight of your legs, flex and point the foot to create a better release. As you work up the calf, roll the knee outward and inward to get more of the lateral and medial gastrocnemius heads. Continue to work through that tissue for 7 to 10 repetitions on each part of the calf that is tender. Next, use the massage stick. To make sure the calf is loose, use a step stool to lift the foot and allow the muscle to relax. Start near the bottom of the soleus and pull towards the top of the gastrocnemius. When you find a tender spot or a knot, stop the massage stick where it is and create pressure into that spot, creating a jostling motion without rolling the massage stick up and down. Make sure you breathe and relax the muscle tissue. Continue this same process all throughout the soleus and gastrocnemius, even the side of the lower leg, until you feel you've gotten all of the tender spots. Be sure to use firm pressure as you roll the tissue. The muscles running most deep to the soleus are the Tibialis Posterior and the Flexor Digitorum Longus. The Tibialis Posterior is responsible for inversion of the foot. The Flexor Digitorum Longus runs all the way to the tip of the toes, creating flexion of the four toes and assists with plantar flexion of the ankle. From those illustrations, you can see how the muscles in the lower leg control the toes. To work the Tibialis Posterior and the Flexor Digitorum Longus, we are going to need a lacrosse ball and a chair. With your leg on a hard chair and the foot over the edge, place a lacrosse ball in between the gastrocnemius muscles and press down into the tissue. Work the medial and lateral portions the same way you work the tissue of the Tibialis Posterior. Press into the ball and pull your foot up while you breathe in. After a full contraction up, drop the foot and relax your breath. Work your way to the medial portions, continuing to breathe during the contract and relax sequence for 7 to 10 repetitions. Then move out to the lateral portions for 7 to 10 repetitions.
Unless there's a way to